God,
God,
grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and wisdom to know the difference. Okay.
Okay. Here we go. So if you're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, and maybe even your mind. It could mean not eating for 3 or 4 days. It could mean freezing on a park bench. It could mean jail. It could mean derision. It could mean mockery, isolation. Isolation is the gift. All others are tests of your endurance and how much you really want to do it. And you'll do it despite rejection and the worst odds. And it will be better than anything else you can imagine. If you're going to try, go all the way. There's no feeling like that. You will be alone with the gods, and the nights will flame with fire. You will ride life straight to perfect laughter. It is the only good fight there is.
Half measures avail us nothing. Yeah. No, that's great.
So that's not a reading from the Daily Reflections. I kind of tricked you.
Yeah. That's fine.
And
that's a good reading.
That is a Charles Bukowski quote. And as far as I know, Charles Bukowski died in active addiction. But he was old, so he was clearly an alcoholic. He was part of his image.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things he will ramble on about that are really poignant and profound, and there's other things that are you could definitely leave. And but this, when I read this, I think like 4 years ago, it was really the beginning of my personal like journey into where I live. And it's just so, it's just me. It's like, it's not 100%, but it's so close. And I really wanted to read it to you, and I kind of wanted to like pitch it as almost as if it was a reading, to see kind of what you would personally, because I almost wanted, like, if it was like, it's almost like it would have more weight to it if I told you that this came out of one of the books that you love, because I wanted to see if I could spin it somehow to get a different reaction before you find out that the guy's died an alcoholic, before all the kind of the secondary, the second set of information comes into play. You know what I mean? Because like,
well, yeah, I know that you're saying, but you know what comes to mind, what strikes me right away is that like that wouldn't be a problem for me. You know what? Because I mean, see, sometimes the world judges people who are alcoholics and who don't find recovery. Sometimes the world judges them somehow as weak and that type of thing. I don't see that at all. All it is like, this disease that claims so many people is destined to claim everybody. The only thing that possibly stops people from getting claimed is finding a spiritual solution, which not everybody can find for one reason or another. And if this guy lived, I don't know when he lived, but if he lived, say, for example, before 1940, there's no way in the world he would have ever even known about this. So I guess my point is that because he suffered from this disease, that doesn't make me think that he's any less of a great mind, a great person. It's like it's a very deep, meaningful, and appropriate quote, right?
So if you dive in deeper with him, the problem is he really owns his alcoholism. So he believed, he wore it as a badge. So as you go deeper into him, like, he was a chain smoking alcoholic that wrote about poverty and even about his booze, and he wore it as a badge of honor, that that was just who he was. So
Yeah.
he died in 94, so not that, and he was born in the 20s.
Okay.
I'm just looking at his Wikipedia now.
So he would have heard about Alcoholics Anonymous and other
I'm sure, and
12-step
I'm sure he
programs.
rejected it with not sarcasm, with like, you know, like he was going down with the ship,
Yeah.
right? Like almost like Christopher Hitchens at being an atheist, like even
Right.
on his deathbed, he still rejected the concept that there was something else out there.
Right.
So there's certain guys, and they're very intelligent, right? Like, so that's why I brought up him too. Is like these guys are very well spoken, like as you said too, like brilliant minds, and I don't think that I would like to put so much emphasis on his personal, but his words, his artwork that we just read. This specific small paragraph I find very valuable and fitting for me, because, and then what I would like your feedback on is like, do you think it's the way that he's describing these things in some cases would be very unhealthy? Losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, or even your mind. It could mean not eating for 3 or 4 days. It could mean freezing on a park bench. It could mean jail. It could mean derision. It could mean mockery and isolation. And then that's when he switches. Isolation is the gift. And then he goes into a more positive state of mind. He says, all others are tests of your endurance and of how much you really want to do it. Right? Like, so I just, the road that I'm on, I can just relate to all that so much when like art being my, like, is above everything.
Yeah.
So like, that's the point I'd like to discuss with you.
Well, you're right, because you can't get to that place where you become a master unless you take it to the end. And that's what, and I think that's what I got. That's the positive stuff that I got out of it, is that, you know, what happens is doubt pops in, and for everyone, I'm sure. But for me, you know, for example, if I'm pursuing a project, and I like this project, I'm sold on the idea myself, and I'm following, and I'm, you know, working on this project. You know, doubt will pop into my head all the time. Doubtful ideas, and maybe it's not that great of an idea, or, you know, people aren't going to like this, or, you know, whatever. You know, if it's a you know, a show or something like that. Doubts like that will pop into my head, but ultimately, if I have the, you know, the stick-to-itiveness to follow it through, things tend to work out. I remember I had a friend of mine who used to call himself a 3-inning man. He had all these projects, and he'd start them, and you know, they'd be kind of underway or almost getting there, and then he'd lose interest, pull out of it, like change his mind, go on to something else. And he doesn't know why he did that, but he called himself, I'm a 3-inning man. I thought it was kind of funny, but kind of nailed it, right?
And kind of sad.
Yeah, it is sad. Mm-hmm. It is sad, but yeah. But I think in order to be a master at anything, in order to be, you know, the best at anything, you have to have that stick-to-itiveness, and that works in recovery too. You know, if I'm not going to commit myself to recovery, if I'm only going to do it half-assed, if I'm going to decide that, you know, I've been sober a few months now, or a couple of years now, and, you know, I've got a lot of things back, and, you know, things are pretty good. I don't think I have to work at this anymore. And I know, because I've seen that happen a few 100,000 times, or well, a few hundred times anyway. Right. People say, you know, that take that kind of attitude, and you know, it doesn't work out well.
Right.
That's why if we do focus on the day at a time thing, my daily business, what do I have to do today? if I keep focusing on what do I have to do today, it just makes my journey a lot easier. But the end goal, the end goal is well, in recovery, the end goal is the journey. It's just the stick-to-itiveness. And then, and now that I've got 27 years, I can look back over my time of doing this stick-to-itiveness and being on this journey and realize that I've had a great 27 years.
Right.
And there wasn't specifically anything in, that I am in today, where I'm at today, where I can say this was my goal, this was what I was aiming for. It's just stuff that has happened, having that freedom, being in a place where life is good, and it's a cumulative thing, but it's not a specific goal that I set for myself to be where I am in any, in today. It's just kind of putting one foot in front of the other and having that journey and experiencing all that I experience, and getting through any issues, any hard times, and enjoying the good times, and being able to have a lot of good times as a result of that. Like the mind can be a trap, I think, and when that Charles talks about his he talks about that negative stuff, all the places where you get stuck, and talks about going through that brutal stuff, and then continuing on towards your trudging through it. That sounds bad, sounds horrible, it sounds awful, and again, that's the truth. And when you're in a state of thinking that tells you that that's the way it is, and that's and that's cut and dry, this is just the way it is, I think to myself, no, there is another option, but you're stuck in a place in your mind where it says there isn't. The place in your mind that is keeping you stuck and telling you this is the only way, and it's not. There is another way, but because you're stuck and trapped in that mindset, there's no way out of it, or it appears to be no way out of it. But there is another way out of it, and the way out of it is I think is to accept defeat and surrender. In our case, to the disease, and surrender to the disease, and then start a process of change, recovery. Because when you're in that dark place, and I've been to before, it seems like there's no way out, and it seems that this is my lot in life. This is what I've got. This is what I have to do. I'm just going to continue on into this abyss, and that's just the way it is. But that is only a thought. That is only a thought, and that thought can be changed. But I think a lot of us believe it can't. And I think when we're stuck in that deep depression, I don't think we can change our thoughts. Maybe, I don't know.
So my last thing I'll say is, so I'm not pulling out the same kind of concepts that you are from that reading.
Yeah.
As much as so my debate, even if I were to talk to my sponsor about this, I believe that Greg would indicate that loving yourself, if you're truly loving yourself, then there's no need to end up on a park bench.
Yeah.
And what I'm getting from this is that you're going to lose friends and family members and and you're going to be mocked and you're going to be alone because you are willing to go to the end of the earth to get what you want, or to do what you want to do. And so like, and you're willing to go through so you're willing to do uncomfortable things that in this world that quote unquote would not be maybe in cases healthy or good for you, or insanity in this case as well, like he says, maybe even your mind, in order to get, in my case, if I relate it to myself, in order to be the best painter on the planet, then shit is going to get real. It's not like you can't go 80% like, well, no, I want to keep these relationships. I want to manage this. Like, well, that's not going all the way, my friend. That's not going all the way. It really isn't. Like, it's a good, maybe it's a good life and you'll get this and that. And that's kind of, it's funny because that's bringing it all the way back to a long time ago. Is like, if you really want something to happen, about when I used to bug you about control, you can make it happen, but how far are you honestly willing to go?
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I brought it up, because I'm really interested on a second take of like, well, no, like again, to kind of like the opposite spectrum was like, no, if it's good for you and healthy for you and loving to yourself, then there's never a time where you'll end up on a park bench, because that's not, how is that, like, putting words in Greg's mouth or philosophy, like, how is that serving you and others, right?
Right.
But what he's saying is like, well, then you're not going all the way. Like, you're not willing to really see what it takes to push the envelope, push the barrier.
Yeah, but okay, so yeah, but I think that's it's just, that is also a thought, though. Do you see? Like, I believe that's just also a thought. I mean, I think you can push the barrier. I think you can be absolutely true to your specific cause and go through walls and do whatever you need to do. I mean, whatever. I mean, if you got a cause, you get arrested for the cause and you just continue to fight for the cause, whatever it happens to be, for example. You can do that, but at the same time, like you said, love yourself, be kind to yourself, and be focused, but also open to a kinder and loving side of it. And not just, and you don't have to believe that, the ultimate commitment is that and nothing else, and whatever gets in the way of that, you just forget it. Can't be involved. Not going to do it. Because honestly, I think that's still an idea. That's still an idea. Right? That's still an idea. And what I mean by that is that an idea can change because it's a thought.
So overall, you like the reading or what?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think it's inspirational in a lot of ways, because it tells me that really I can be more committed. I can be more committed. And I don't want to be like the 3 any guy.
Right.
I want to be more committed. And yeah, so I do. I like it. It's good. It's good.
Okay, so let's end, and then we'll segue into the. I have a bunch of other things, or one other topic I definitely want to bring up, but I'm going to keep recording anyway.
Okay, cool.
We're closed.
All right. So let's close. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and wisdom to know the difference.